With us is Texas Republican Congressman John Ratcliffe, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. They're going to hear from Bruce Ohr, who is a very important name in all of this. But first of all, Congressman Ratcliffe, what are your thoughts on this? Will this hamstring the Mueller folks at all in terms of what information they're actually allowed to release?
Well, first of all, good to be with you, Martha. I think Trace did a great job of summarizing the state of the law. The Department of Justice is right. The judges don't have inherent authority to disclose grand jury information. It's generally considered sacrosanct, with a few exceptions, like the one that he mentioned used to exist under the independent counsel statute back when Bill Clinton was impeached. But the special counsel provisions under which Bob Mueller is operating doesn't have that grand jury exception. But I think what you need to keep in mind is that Congress does retain subpoena authority for grand jury information in actual impeachment proceedings. So there's that issue. I think that one of the things that Bob Mueller needs to be concerned about, besides the issue of whether he'll be allowed to give the public a report, is the percentage of the public that will find that report credible, given the way that the special counsel's been operating and given his public approval ratings.
Well, that brings us to our next question, because you are about to hear from someone who is of great interest in all of this. What role did Bruce Ohr, who was the deputy to Sally Yates, who was the acting attorney general, who seemed, based on the texts and emails that we all now have seen, to have a very deep interest, even though he wasn't working on the Russia investigation, in keeping the dossier alive, keeping it going, and keeping Christopher Steele involved in all of it. His wife, Nellie Ohr, worked for Fusion GPS. So what do you want to know from Bruce Ohr when you question him behind closed doors tomorrow?
Pretty simple, Martha. The Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Rod Rosenstein, told members of Congress under oath that he had no knowledge that Bruce Ohr was involved in the Russia investigation. And he told members of Congress that he wasn't aware that Bruce Ohr had permission to be working on the Russia investigation. But we know very clearly, and it's not in dispute, that Bruce Ohr had more than 60 contacts with Christopher Steele, and his wife was retained and paid to create the dossier with Christopher Steele. Those are the definitions of material facts, and why it comes into play, Martha, is, was this just Bruce Ohr and his wife, or who at the Department of Justice and who at the FBI was aware of this information? When did they become aware of it? Because it goes to those 4 separate FISA applications and the information that was sworn to before those judges.
Yeah, and I would imagine you're going to have a lot of questions about Sally Yates and whether or not she directed him to do any of this. Let's put up a couple of the tweets that are of concern about Bruce Ohr. The first one is from May of 2017. He says to Christopher Steele, very concerned about Comey's firing, afraid they will be exposed. That is certainly something you'd want to dig into more.
Very clearly, that's just one of many texts that underscore the point that Bruce Ohr and his wife were working closely with Christopher Steele. It doesn't explain why the Deputy Attorney General wouldn't be aware of that involvement, or whether Sally Yates, as the prior Deputy Attorney General, was aware of that. And again, Martha, why it's important is, remember those 4 FISA applications. You had folks like Sally Yates and Jim Comey and Andy McCabe and Rod Rosenstein all swear to the court that they were giving full and complete information about the dossier. And I can tell you, having seen the unredacted FISA applications, that Bruce Ohr and his involvement and Nellie Ohr and his involvement was never disclosed in any of the 4 applications.
John Ratcliffe, Congressman, thank you very much. We look forward to hearing how that goes tomorrow. Good to have you here tonight.
You bet. Thanks, Martha.